Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you not to criticize, but to awaken. There is a silent epidemic spreading across our minds and our actions. The epidemic of weakness. And I'm not talking about physical strength. I'm talking about mental resilience, emotional stability, and the power to rise when life knocks you down. Weakness is not just crying, it's giving up. It's living in fear. It's accepting less when you're capable of more. We weren't born to be ordinary. We weren't made to stay in our comfort zones, to beg for approval, or to hide from struggle. We were born to fight, to rise, to lead. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, you bury your potential. Every time you rely on excuses, you build chains around your progress. Weakness is a habit, just like strength is a choice. No one is coming to save you. Life doesn't reward the timid. It respects the bold. You want to stop being weak? Then take control. Speak with purpose. Think with clarity. Walk with confidence. Cut off what breaks you. Stop justifying laziness. Stop seeking sympathy. And most importantly, stop fearing failure. Strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being unshakable. It's about bending, but not breaking. It's about getting hit and still moving forward. You don't need a miracle. So today, make a decision. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Stop being weak. The world doesn't owe you comfort. You owe yourself greatness. Mental weakness is more dangerous than physical weakness because it quietly limits what we believe we're capable of achieving. Physical strength can be built in the gym, developed through repetition, hard work, and time, but mental weakness is more deceptive. It doesn't show itself with broken bones or bruises. It operates in silence, slowly eating away at our will, our courage, and our sense of purpose. It convinces us to stay where it's safe, to avoid taking risks, and to settle for less. A mentally weak person will find themselves surrendering to doubt before even starting. They will see opportunity and shrink back out of fear. Even if their body is strong, their actions are small, reactive, hesitant. They hesitate to speak up, to make decisions, or to challenge themselves, always believing that failure is fatal and discomfort is to be avoided. Mental weakness is what makes a person choose the easy path over the right path, conformity over individuality, and silence over self-expression. It keeps people stuck in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, and lifestyles that drain them. And the worst part is that it disguises itself as being realistic, when in reality, it's just fear in a clever mask. True strength isn't in how much you can lift. It's in how much you can endure, how far you can push when your mind screams at you to stop, and how deeply you believe in yourself when no one else does. Without mental strength, no amount of physical power or external success will matter, because you'll crumble under pressure, lose direction in chaos, and give up when it matters most. Comfort zones are deceptive. They feel warm, safe, and familiar, but they are actually one of the most dangerous places a person can stay. It's in the comfort zone where dreams go to die slowly. You stop pushing yourself. You stop taking chances. You begin to settle and settle. And the worst part is, it all feels okay because nothing seems obviously wrong. That's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't alarm you. There's no fire, no urgency, no warning signs. But internally, your potential begins to fade. Your hunger weakens. Your edge disappears. Comfort zones rob you of growth because nothing new ever happens there. You repeat the same actions, the same routines, the same thoughts day after day. You may convince yourself that you're fine, that life is manageable. But deep down, you know you're not living at your highest level. The comfort zone makes people lazy without them realizing it. It rewards passivity and punishes ambition. It whispers lies like you're doing enough, or this is good enough, when you're fully capable of more. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful had to break out of that false safety. They had to risk being uncomfortable, uncertain, even scared. Growth always lives on the other side of discomfort, whether it's learning a new skill, starting a business, facing a fear, or speaking your truth. It will always require stepping into something unfamiliar. And that process, though painful, is where strength is built. Muscles grow through resistance. So does character. When you stay too long in your comfort zone, life eventually forces you out with hardship, regret, or failure. But if you have the courage to step out by choice, to chase challenge and discomfort, you gain control of your future. You stop surviving and you start evolving. The comfort zone is not your friend. It's the enemy, dressed as peace. And every day you remain there, you trade your potential for temporary ease. Excuses are the language of the weak because they provide a temporary shield from responsibility, while silently eroding your ability to grow. They are the clever stories we tell ourselves to justify inaction, mediocrity, or failure. At the surface, an excuse might seem valid: lack of time, lack of resources, poor circumstances. But in truth, they are nothing more than a way to avoid the discomfort of change. When you rely on excuses, you're not protecting yourself. You're limiting yourself. You're trading power for pity, strength for sympathy, and progress for comfort. Excuses feed off fear. They are born in the moments when we fear failure, rejection, or judgment. Instead of trying and risking a negative outcome, we choose to not try at all and wrap it in a convincing excuse. I'm not ready. I don't have support. It's just not the right time. These are not facts. They are emotional defense mechanisms. And the more you use them, the more they become a habit, a crutch you lean on every time life demands more of you. What makes excuses especially destructive is that they sound reasonable. They're socially accepted. Most people around you will nod and say, "Yes, I understand," when you say you're tired, overwhelmed, or unlucky. But deep down, you know the truth. You know that someone else with fewer resources, more pain, and greater challenges still chose to rise, to fight, and to build something remarkable. The difference is not in circumstances, it's in mindset. Excuses don't solve problems. They postpone solutions. They don't protect your self-esteem. They weaken it over time. Every excuse you make disconnects you from your goals and keeps you stuck in the same cycle. You never grow by avoiding effort. You grow by owning your reality and taking action regardless of how difficult it is. Accountability is the antidote to weakness. The moment you stop saying, "I can't," and start saying, "I will figure it out," everything changes. You have to ask yourself, are you making progress or are you making excuses? Because you cannot do both at the same time. Every time you choose to excuse yourself from responsibility, you're giving away a piece of your power. They don't explain failure away. They extract the lesson and keep moving. No one is coming to save you. And the sooner you understand this truth, the sooner you'll start taking control of your life. We grow up believing that someone will come and rescue us when things go wrong. A mentor, a friend, a leader, or even luck. But in reality, life doesn't work that way. People can support you, guide you, or encourage you, but they cannot live for you. They cannot do the work, fight your battles, or endure your pain. That responsibility is yours and yours alone. Relying on others to fix your life is one of the most damaging forms of weakness. It creates dependency and strips away personal power. You start waiting for external change instead of creating internal change. You hope someone else will make the decision, open the door, or give you permission. But while you wait, time passes, opportunities are missed, growth stalls, and most importantly, you begin to believe that your fate is not in your hands, which is the biggest lie you can tell yourself. When you stop expecting a rescue, you shift from a victim to a warrior. You begin to understand that your life is a reflection of your choices, not your circumstances. You take ownership of your failures instead of blaming others. You take initiative rather than waiting for motivation. You don't sit around hoping someone will make it easier. You become stronger so you can handle the difficulty. That is where real power begins. Self-responsibility is not easy. It demands honesty, courage, and relentless effort. It means looking in the mirror and admitting where you've fallen short. It means recognizing your excuses, your patterns, your fears, and still choosing to act. But it is also the most liberating mindset you can develop. Because once you stop looking outward for salvation, you begin to look inward for strength. You stop pleading for chances and start creating them. You stop waiting for someone to show you the way and start building your own path. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who had the most help. They're the ones who accepted their reality, stood up despite their pain, and made a decision to move forward no matter what. Waiting is weakness. Taking control is strength. You already have what it takes, but nothing changes until you stop waiting to be saved and start saving yourself. Strength is a daily choice, not a fixed trait that some people are born with and others are not. It's not something you inherit. It's something you build, moment by moment, decision by decision. People often think of strength as a permanent quality, that you're either a strong person or you're not. But that mindset is misleading and dangerous. Because real strength doesn't come from genetics, privilege, or luck. It comes from discipline. It comes from choosing to show up and do what's necessary, even when everything inside you wants to quit. Every day, life presents you with two paths, the easy road of comfort or the hard road of growth. And every day, you must decide which one to take. Strength is choosing to wake up early when you want to sleep in. It's choosing to keep your word even when it's inconvenient. It's choosing to have difficult conversations, to resist temptation, to say no when it matters, to keep going when you're tired, and to stay grounded when everything feels overwhelming. These choices are rarely loud or dramatic. They're silent battles fought in your mind and your actions, often when no one is watching. What separates strong people from the rest isn't that they never feel weak. They get exhausted. They doubt themselves. They feel pain. But they don't let those feelings control them. They've trained themselves to act based on principle, not emotion. They understand that feelings are fleeting, but choices shape your life. They don't wait to feel ready. They act in spite of fear and fatigue. And every time they make a disciplined choice, they reinforce their strength. That's how strength works. It compounds. One strong decision leads to another. One act of discipline creates momentum for more. You may not see the results immediately, but every time you choose to do the hard thing, you're building character, mental toughness, and self-respect. You're becoming someone who can be relied on, not just by others, but by yourself. People admire strength, but few are willing to pay the price for it. It takes effort, consistency, and sacrifice. It means saying no to distractions, cutting off bad habits, and standing firm in your values. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from regret, from fear, from the chaos of a weak mind. Strength gives you the ability to lead yourself. And when you can do that, you can handle anything life throws at you. Victim mentality destroys power because it convinces you that life is something that happens to you, not something you have control over. It shifts the blame for everything wrong in your life onto someone or something else. Your past, your parents, your boss, your environment, society, or just bad luck. And while it may offer temporary comfort to believe that you're not responsible, it also robs you of your ability to change your circumstances. What you won't take ownership of. You can't rise while blaming everyone else for why you're down. When you adopt a victim mindset, you surrender your strength. You begin to see yourself as powerless, as someone who is always at the mercy of others. This way of thinking creates a cycle of helplessness. You stop taking initiative, you stop setting goals, and you stop believing that your actions make a difference. You wait for someone else to make things better. You wait for fairness, for justice, for someone to understand your pain, and all the while, you stay stuck. Victim mentality keeps you emotionally and mentally frozen while the world keeps moving. It's not that people don't face unfairness. They do. Life is hard. People get hurt. Setbacks happen. Some are born into pain and chaos that others can't even imagine. But what separates the strong from the weak is not whether they've suffered. It's how they respond to that suffering. Strong people refuse to let their pain become a prison. They don't ignore it, but they don't use it as an excuse either. They acknowledge their wounds but choose to fight anyway. They choose responsibility over resentment. The problem with staying in a victim role is that it makes you believe you have no choices, no options, no power. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you are broken and helpless, you will act accordingly. You will lower your standards. You will attract toxic relationships. You will give up before trying. And worst of all, you will begin to resent those who are rising, thinking they must have had it easier. But strength begins when you let go of the victim label and take control of your narrative. You decide to stop being defined by what happened to you and start being known for how you overcame it. You shift from asking, "Why did this happen to me?" to asking, "What can I do with what I've been given?" That question alone reclaims your power. Because the truth is, you don't have to remain broken. You don't have to live at the mercy of your past. You have the ability, right now, to rewrite the story, not by pretending it never hurt, but by refusing to let it define who you are becoming. Confidence is born from action, not from affirmation, because true self-belief is built through what you do, not just what you say to yourself or hear from others. You can read all the motivational quotes, repeat all the positive affirmations, and surround yourself with people who encourage you. But none of it will truly matter if you don't take action. Real confidence isn't about convincing yourself that you're capable. It's about proving to yourself that you are through experience, through struggle, through persistence. The mind learns through evidence. If you avoid taking action, your brain gets used to retreat, to hesitation, to fear. It starts to believe that you're incapable simply because you haven't tried. On the other hand, when you take action, even imperfect action, you give your brain proof that you're capable of doing hard things. You begin to see that you can speak in front of others. You can handle rejection. You can finish difficult tasks. This is where confidence takes root. Not in theory, but in reality. The problem is that most people wait for confidence before they take action. They say things like, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I'm not confident enough yet to try that." But confidence doesn't come first. Courage does. You must be willing to act while you're scared, while you're unsure, while you feel unqualified. Every time you push through that discomfort and do the thing anyway, you gain a little more self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of true confidence. Confidence also grows in small daily choices. It's not just about big wins or public achievements. It's about keeping your promises to yourself, waking up when you said you would, finishing what you started, doing the work when no one is watching. These acts of discipline build trust in yourself. You begin to believe in your ability to follow through, and that belief becomes the quiet, unshakable strength that doesn't need constant validation. When you rely on affirmation alone, your confidence is fragile. It depends on others approving you or things going your way. But when your confidence is built from action, it's solid. It becomes something you carry with you no matter what happens externally. You walk into rooms knowing that you've faced your fears. You stand your ground not because someone told you to, but because you've proven to yourself that you can. Taking action is uncomfortable. That's why it's so powerful. It separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the builders. And over time, those repeated acts of courage become your identity. You no longer need to hype yourself up. You simply know who you are because you've lived it, not just imagined it. Failure is not the end. Weakness is quitting. And that distinction changes everything. Most people are terrified of failure, seeing it as a sign that they're not good enough or that they should stop trying. But the truth is, failure is part of the process, a stepping stone that every strong and successful person has walked across. No one reaches greatness without stumbling. In fact, the path to strength is paved with setbacks, missteps, and moments of doubt. What separates the strong from the weak isn't the presence or absence of failure. It's how they respond to it. Weakness shows itself in quitting, in walking away when things get hard, in giving up because the road isn't smooth. It's when you choose to stop simply because the process didn't go perfectly. But nothing great was ever achieved without struggle. Failure is how you learn. It exposes your weaknesses so you can improve them. It builds resilience. It teaches you humility. And most importantly, it gives you the wisdom that can only come through experience. Strong people don't fear failure. They study it. They take their losses and use them as blueprints for a better comeback. They know that every failure carries a lesson, and every lesson makes them sharper, smarter, and tougher. They treat failure not as a verdict, but as feedback. It tells them what to adjust, what to improve, and where to focus. They don't internalize failure as proof that they're inadequate. They see it as evidence that they're trying, pushing, and growing. Quitting, on the other hand, is final. When you quit, you rob yourself of the possibility of success. You close the door and walk away from potential. Quitting guarantees defeat. And too often, people quit right before the breakthrough. They endure the hard part, face the storms, and then walk away moments before things could have changed. All because they misunderstood failure as a dead end instead of a detour. Failure also has the power to harden you in the right way. It makes you more durable. After you've fallen and gotten back up enough times, fear loses its power over you. You stop being so sensitive to judgment, criticism, or difficulty. You learn that pain doesn't break you, it prepares you. And the more you endure, the more unshakable you become. You must understand that failing is not weakness. It's part of building strength. But quitting, that's when growth dies. That's when you choose comfort over character, fear over faith, and regret over resilience. If you're still in the game, still trying, still learning, then you haven't lost. You're becoming stronger. Because strength is not about avoiding failure. It's about refusing to let failure stop you. Discipline over emotion is a mindset that separates those who merely wish for change from those who actually create it. Emotions are powerful, but they are also unpredictable. They rise and fall like waves, influenced by sleep, stress, people, weather, and countless uncontrollable factors. If you let your emotions dictate your actions, your life becomes unstable. One day you're motivated and productive. The next day you're overwhelmed and disconnected. That's the trap. That's the trap. Relying on how you feel in the moment to decide what you do. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It's the internal structure you build to guide you when motivation fades. It's the decision to stick to your path, your principles, your vision, regardless of how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like doing this right now? It simply says, this must be done. That mindset is what builds long-term strength. The strongest individuals are not the ones who are always fired up. They're the ones who can perform even when they're drained, discouraged, or uninspired. When you live by emotion, you become reactive. You snap in anger, delay in doubt, freeze in fear, and quit in frustration. You become a slave to mood swings. But when you live with discipline, you respond with clarity. You stay focused in chaos. You do the right thing even when it's the hard thing. You keep training when your body is sore. You keep showing up to work when your mind wants to escape. You keep building even when no one notices or applauds. Discipline is not about being emotionless. It's about putting emotion in the passenger seat, not letting it drive the car. You acknowledge how you feel, but you don't let it control your behavior. That control is what builds mental toughness. Because life is not always exciting or fair or smooth. There will be days of stress, setbacks, and silence. If you only act when you're in the mood, your progress will always be inconsistent. But if you act based on a system you've committed to, a standard you've set for yourself, your results become inevitable. Some of the greatest achievements in history were not born out of excitement or passion, but out of relentless discipline. The early mornings no one sees, the silent sacrifices, the consistent effort day after day. That's where real strength is formed, in mastering yourself. Discipline gives you power over distraction, resistance, laziness, and fear. It gives you the ability to do what's necessary, not what's comfortable. You owe yourself greatness because no one else can live your life for you, and no one else is responsible for unlocking your potential. Too often, people live their lives trying to meet the expectations of others. Parents, friends, society, or worse, they drift through life aimlessly, convincing themselves that average is acceptable, that settling is normal, and that playing small is safer. But deep inside, there's always a whisper, a tension, a frustration, because you know you were made for more. That whisper is the truth. You were not born to blend in, to live in fear, or to die with regret. You were born to become everything you're capable of. And that means you owe yourself the effort, the focus, and the discipline required to reach your highest potential. Greatness doesn't mean becoming famous or wealthy. It means becoming your best self physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It means showing up every day with intention, with purpose, with energy. It means pushing beyond your comfort zone, holding yourself to higher standards, and refusing to accept anything less than your full ability. You don't owe the world your weakness. You don't owe any excuses. This? But you owe yourself the version of you that fights back, that grows, that never settles. Because if you don't rise, you're the one who suffers, in silence and regret, in the quiet pain of knowing you could have done more. This is not about ego. It's about self-respect. When you live beneath your potential, you feel it in your soul. There's a weight that follows you, a dissatisfaction that lingers. You can fake smiles and distract yourself with entertainment or comfort. At the end of the day, you know whether you gave your best or not. And if you keep ignoring that truth, it eats away at you. But when you chase greatness, when you give everything you've got, you earn something priceless, peace of mind. You walk with pride. You sleep knowing you didn't waste your time, your talent, or your life. Nobody can give you greatness. It can't be handed down, inherited, or wished into existence. It must be earned through effort, through struggle, through relentless consistency. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a commitment, a decision that you will no longer accept being average, no longer tolerate mediocrity in your actions, your habits, or your mindset, because you deserve better, and more importantly, because you are capable of better. You just have to stop playing small and start acting like the person you know you were meant to be. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop doubting the fire inside you. You've heard the call, now it's time to answer. You have everything it takes to rise, to grow, to conquer the weakness that's been holding you back. The world doesn't need another person living below their potential. The world needs the strongest version of you. Not someday, today. Decide who you want to become and start becoming it now. Because your greatness isn't a gift, it's a responsibility, and it starts the moment you stop being weak.